Quality morning, everyone. Before we start, shall we ask the presence of God to help us today? Let us pray. Just close your eyes and bow down our heads. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful time. Thank you that you have allowed us, Panginoon, to once again hold an event like this. Lord, it is our declaration that you will give each participant the spirit of understanding and the spirit of desire, Panginoon, to apply the learnings today. Lord, may you also bless our speaker today with your wisdom so that he may make us understand more the gravity of, or the importance of the topic that we will discuss today. Lord, binibigay po namin sa inyo ang katagumpayan ng gawain na ito. Maghari ka sa buhay ng bawat isa. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Praise God. All right. Thank you everyone for showing today and tuning in to our Zoom event. All right. So, quality morning ulit. This is Jamie Katibayan. Welcome to another edition of QFI Talk, Power Talk, entitled Pivoting to a Sustainable Business Continuity Program. This is a free webinar and live consultation via Zoom brought to you by Quality Plus Management Consulting Company. We are a team of experts who provides tailored consulting and training services in the field of quality and process improvement. Ayan po. Alam niyo po ba, mga naka-tune in ngayon, mga nasa Zoom meeting ngayon, alam niyo po ba, due to insistent public demand, we are back again to discuss with you things that you need to know more about business resiliency. Opo, para sa kaalaman po ng lahat, this is the second part of our previous webinar entitled Business Resiliency in the Midst of Adversity. And today we are about to dig deeper in understanding, in creating, and integrating a business continuity program in our organization. Ayan po, welcome to Quality Plus. We are so thankful and grateful that you are joining us today. Please enjoy your viewing of the discussion today. Ano po? And you are always welcome to give your comments, suggestions, and recommendations and questions because we have Q&A portion at the end of this discussion. Ano po? But before that, let us first watch this short video of the summary of the things, the ordeals, the things, no po, the seemingly impossible things that we have gone through this yung kalahati ng taon ng 2020. Ano po? So, take it away, Jay.
Thought that the day would come when Tagaytay would look like this, a ghost town. One part of the city is all dry ash, while the other side is now blanketed in mud as rain started to fall. Electricity is out, and most businesses are closed, including malls, restaurants, and hotels. Spots in the city also took a hit. Picnic Grove, for one, now looks like a set of a horror film. Sky Ranch likewise looks abandoned.
Immediate effects, however, are painful. Some of the damage, including lost production in tilapia, is expected to affect food supply in Metro Manila. The real estate sector, meanwhile, is expected to take a hit as property owners attempt to unload assets near the Taal volcano area. Colliers International says condo sales in Tagaytay alone hit 2 billion pesos annually.
Initially, given the knee-jerk reaction of some unit owners that will be selling their units, we could see about 5 to 10% decline in residential prices.
The Philippines has become the first country to close its financial markets in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The unprecedented move is to ensure the safety of traders. And the Philippine Stock Exchange is closed until further notice, while currency and bond trading, that too has been suspended But the exchange is hoping to reopen on Thursday. Now, global markets have slumped as the coronavirus spreads, and the Philippines, well, it hasn't been exempt from any of that turmoil. Its work and transport services have also been halted, although essential services are still operating. All international flights, meantime, to and from the island, they're going to stop on Friday.
This whole thing affects also the workforce, the people who build our buildings. And that's something that we are trying to monitor right now.
Benchmark index is down 20% for the month so far. That's the worst performance since 2008. Now, this time,
There is a silver lining, however, to the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 outbreak. Alorica Asia President Bong Borja says the epidemic has led to some international BPO clients to consider setting up business continuity plans in the Philippines.
We haven't seen any pullback from clients. In fact, there are clients because of COVID-19 that are demanding or requiring more services from us because they wanted to put their own business continuity plan.
All right. Grabe no po. Half of the year pa lagi natatapos natin. But we have gone through so many things already. And the hardship talagang we cannot compare it to any given adjectives, tama po ba? So, the whole world is really suffering right now. No? And have you read this article circulating in your FB news feed that says Victoria's Secret declared bankruptcy, Zara closed 1,200 stores, La Chapelle withdraws 4,391 stores. I'm not sure if I have pronounced it right. Chanel was discontinued. Hermes is discontinued. Patek Philippe discontinued production. Rolex discontinued production too. The world's luxury industry has ceased production. And Nike has a total of 23 billion US dollars preparing for the second stage of layoffs. Needless to say, about the travel, of course, it's a suffering industry right now. The founder of Airbnb said that because of the pandemic, 12 years of efforts were destroyed in just 6 weeks. Even the Starbucks also announced to permanently close their 400 stores under the weight of the new crown pandemic. Many giants are facing the crisis of failure. 5 months of pandemic were in debt, and tens of thousands of companies went bankrupt. So the company was seriously replaced. If your company is still there and there are no pay cuts or layoffs, please treat your company well because they still insist on carrying all the tests that you can see. And humans are facing the pandemic that cannot be controlled. The second half of 2020 is the challenge of corporate strength. Now, as business owners and members of our organization, are we ready to take on that challenge? And at the end of all the trials that we have been through, we have gone through this 2020, we can say that buhay pa tayo, we are victorious. Tama po ba? So, wag na nating patagalin. Let us hear more about business continuity program, okay, through our speaker. But before that, some friendly reminders lang po, ano po? While our speaker is sharing the topic, all our microphones will be muted so that everyone will have the best experience from this webinar. And if you have comments or questions, please do not shy away from asking our speaker through our chat box. Yan po yung matatagpuan nyo sa menu at the lower portion of your screen. Okay po? So not only your question, but you can also send us your comments, suggestions, and recommendations. Okay po ba yun? And without further ado, let me present to you our speaker for today. He is the president of Quality Plus Management Consulting Company. He is a management system and business process improvement expert, and he is the author of the management system book entitled Building Organizational Excellence through ISO 9000. He also successfully handled more than 100 companies towards ISO certification. He also assisted a number of companies in their business process improvement efforts. His 20 years of experiences include industrial engineering, business process improvement, total quality management, and various management systems. He is one of the 40 management systems experts to become a certified National Energy Management System Consultant or ISO 50001 consultant. So, ladies and gentlemen, our speaker for today, let's give him a big, big round of applause. Our president, Engineer Henry O. Palaca.
Thank you, Jamie. Quality morning, everyone, or quality afternoon, or quality evening. So thank you for joining us in this webinar. As a follow-through of our previous webinar on business resiliency, today I will be discussing a very interesting topic, and this is entitled Pivoting to a Sustainable Business Continuity Program. So I will be basically tackling two related topics. These are business continuity and sustainability. To start off, I would like to show you the global supply chain for denim pants. Paano nga ba pinuproduce ang denim pants? Well, first, the raw cotton are harvested and picked from the US farm, US cotton field, and then from there, the raw cotton are shipped to China, okay, for finishing and removal of the impurities. And from China, the cotton fiber is shipped to Malaysia, where the fibers are made into yarns. Then, after which, the yarns are transported to Thailand, where the yarns are made into fabric. Then the fabric is cut into in Singapore, and then from Singapore, the fabrics are shipped to the Philippines for sewing and assembly. So, ganun kakomplikado yung ating supply chain for denim pants. So take note that during the assembly in the Philippines, labels used are shipped from India, zippers from Hong Kong, threads from Indonesia, buttons and rivets from Taiwan, and of course the embroidery from Singapore. So now that the finished products, meaning the denim pants, are shipped back to Singapore from the Philippines for final inspection, and in there, different brands are sewn and finally for distribution. So alam niyo po, that is just half of the supply chain of denim pants, yung tinatawag nating upstream of the supply chain. No? The other side of the supply chain, the downside of that chain, like how they distribute the denim pants to the different distributors, wholesalers, retailers, up to the end customers, is also very complex as upstream of the supply chain. So that shows na talagang maraming pinagdaanan ang denim pants. Parang ikaw, ngayong pandemic, di ba? Tama ba? Maraming pinagdaanan. Biro lang po yun, ano? But maybe the global supply chain of your product is as complex as that of the denim pants. No? It's just that you may not be aware of the extent and complexity of your product. Hindi mo alam na yung produkto mo pala kung saan-saan nakakarating, no? Sa buong mundo. But what I'm really trying to drive at is that what if there is a disruptive incident that happens in a particular segment of your supply chain? Halimbawa, in 2011, no, alam natin ito, no, that there was a prolonged and severe flooding in Thailand. No? So remember that the fabric was produced in Thailand. So the flooding caused shutdown of the fabric plant in Thailand. No? And so in effect, perhaps no denim plants were produced and distributed to the global market. O kung meron man, it should be at a very low production volume. In the next 20 to 30 minutes, I would like to present to you 3 salient points for companies to pivot to a sustainable business continuity program. So I'd like to discuss first business continuity and its relevance in this new decade and even beyond. And the second point is to create a business strategy or yung tinatawag nating strategic business continuity plan for the new normal. So we are experiencing currently the pandemic. So what should be, as a business or as a company, how should we create a strategic business continuity plan? And then thirdly, My third point is on integrating sustainability in business continuity solutions. So this is now where we link sustainability to business continuity. So let me now start with the first point. So we need to first understand business continuity. So take note that you have the whole Earth, the whole planet Earth is a single community interconnected with media technology and telecommunication, and that is what we call the global village. Before, if you go outside the country, even if it's just the neighboring country like Malaysia or Indonesia, you felt like you're very far away from the Philippines. Sino pong nakaka-experience nun? Parang ang layo mo sa Pilipinas. But with the onset of telecommunication and internet technology, even if you're on the other side of the world, no? Like let's say you are in Europe or you're in America, it seems like you are just on the other barangay, no? Sa kapit barangay lang, or even the nearby city. So with the onset of the global village, the supply chain of the product becomes more complex. No? So before, when you produce a product, you will only be utilizing raw materials within your locality. Okay, but now, just like the global supply chain of the dairy pans that I've just cited a while ago, the raw materials have to travel millions of miles across the globe before they become finished products. So when we say global chain, this refers to the dynamic worldwide network when a company purchases or uses products and services from overseas. Take note that the global supply chain of a particular product or service is faced with many challenges, especially with so many various disasters that could happen to a certain location in your global supply chain. Take note that globally, many countries all over the world have been experiencing strong typhoons and hurricanes. Like in the Philippines, Super Typhoon Yolanda hit the country in 2013, leaving thousands of casualties and even millions of pesos of losses due to collapsed infrastructure. And not only typhoons, so we also were experiencing strong earthquakes and tsunamis. Like in December 26, 2004, there was a 9.1 earthquake that hit Indonesia. After that earthquake, there was tsunami, okay? And that also happened in Japan in 2011. So both earthquakes were followed by huge tsunamis. So every organization is faced with a disaster risk. So whether the disaster risk is environmental or natural in nature, like the earthquake, a drought, this pandemic, or even typhoon, and many other environmental disaster risks. And also we have human-induced disaster risk, like we have technical, legal, and socio-political disaster risk. This could be suicide bombing or internet hacking, and daming mga ganong experiences, no, for some companies, or even force majeure. So if this untoward incident or disruptive incident happens to a company, certainly it will adversely affect your operations. No? So company might lost your properties from damage or lost the lives of your employees. Wag naman sana. But another concern of the company may be on how long will it take before it could recover. Yun ang laging dilemma ng mga organizations. After an incident, like let's say there's an earthquake or there's a fire happening to your company, so how soon could you resume your operations? Or what if the company could not anymore recover? May mga ganun na the impact was so severe that and catastrophic that they could hardly or they could not anymore operate their company. In the various disaster risks facing the company, business continuity is therefore very important. So when we say business continuity, this is the capability of your organization to continue delivery of your products and services at acceptable predefined levels following disruptive incident. So let me repeat the definition of business continuity. This is the capability of your organization to continue the delivery of your products right after the disruptive incident. So there are companies that after, let's say, a severe earthquake or a severe typhoon, the following day they have already did their operation. So maybe you would ask, what's the secret of this company? How come the following day, while the rest of the companies are, repairing their facilities, but there are few companies that after that incident, they were able to recover or operate. So that's actually what we call business continuity. So using 22301, better known as the Societal Security Business Continuity Management Systems, or the ISO 22301 version 2012, when we say business continuity, for every disruptive incident, it should have a predefined program to prepare for the incident. Okay, bago mangyaring incident, you have to be prepared, or protect the assets of the organization, including the people from that incident, reduce the impact of the incident to the company. So, sabi ko kanina, there are companies that are, severely devastated, but some companies are not. So, because they reduce the impact of that disruptive incident to their company. Of course, properly responding to the disruptive incident, and of course the recovery plan of the company after the incident. So therefore, the company should plan ahead. Business continuity planning is the process of developing prior arrangements and procedures that enable the company to respond to an event in such a manner that critical business functions like selling or production can continue with planned levels of disruption. So the primary objective of the business continuity planning is to protect, first, to protect your resources from the incident. For example, in the case of your people, you need to protect. The reason why you need a business continuity plan is you need to protect the lives of your employees. And in the case of the building or infrastructure, equipment and facilities, the company should have a clear plan to safeguard your property. And of course, for the products and services, in the business continuity planning, you should ensure that your products can still be delivered even after the incident. So you could deliver it quickly. Now, there are actually 4 phases of business continuity planning, and you have to pay close attention to these 4 phases. So the first 2 phases, so if you look at the diagram here, happen before the incident. Okay, so you have to have some mitigation strategies, preparedness strategies. While the 2 other phases, the response phase and the recovery phase, you should also have your recovery strategies and response strategies. So combining the first 2 phases of BCP, you should be able to create protection and mitigation strategies. And of course, on that particular strategy, you should be able to conduct the risk analysis first of a particular disaster risk. So again, you could not mitigate the risk unless you analyze first the risk. So when the risk score of the company on a particular disaster, kunyari, flooding is a disaster risk of your company, and you calculate the risk score of your company on that flooding as a disaster risk, and you found out that it is high, so therefore you need to prepare a business continuity plan. Kasi di ba, ganito kasing practice, for each disaster risk, if it is found to be of high risk to your organization, you need to create a business continuity plan. So if, let's say, you come up with a list of disaster risks in your company, flooding, typhoon, drought, earthquake, tsunami, and other environmental and human-induced disaster risk. And let's say you come up with a 100. In your list, you have 100 disaster risks. So it's not practical that you come up with 100 business continuity plans. It's so tedious. So what you're supposed to do is to do a risk analysis, and only those risks that are high need a corresponding business continuity plan. So an emergency response plan, on the other hand, must be established on how the company should respond during the disaster. And finally, the company should also be able to, more importantly, be able to establish a continuity and recovery plan so that you'll be able to quickly recover from the or after the disaster. So here is a generic protection and mitigation strategies. Take note, the first set of strategies pertain to protection and mitigation strategies prior to a disruptive incident. So now looking at the different resources that your company have, so let's first take a look at the people. So under people, your objective, as mentioned earlier, is to protect the lives of the employees. No? So how do you do that? Prior to that disruptive incident, you have to provide training and orientation, no, to your people, of course, specific or pertinent to that particular disruptive incident. No? So, sometimes, so, limbawa, fire is a disruptive incident of your company. So minsan dahil hindi trained ang tao on how to respond to fire, so maraming namatay hindi sa sunog, hindi dahil nasunog sila. Many casualties happen because of stampede, dahil panic eh. So in other words, you need to do training and orientation, and of course that includes a drill, no? Yung tinatawag natin mga fire drill and other types of drill. And of course, under building and infrastructure, your objective is to safeguard the property, and one of the possible strategies, no, mitigation and protection strategies, is to ensure your building and other facilities, no? Like let's say in 2009, no, when after Ondoy, no, maybe some of you were affected by that. No? After Ondoy, a lot of warehouses or warehouse facilities ensured their facilities or even their products, their inventories, including the Act of God. Kasi before that, before Ondoy, yung insurance coverage ng mga companies, hindi sinama yung Act of God. But, you know, after that typhoon, so a lot of companies insure, no, their inventories. So not only insurance, no? So you have to do regular safety audit. What if, let's say, there's a strong, yung sinasabi natin, the big one, that may happen in Metro Manila. So how sure are you that your building, your infrastructure could withstand 7.2 magnitude earthquake? Okay? Kasi yun ang sinasabi ng PIVOS, no? Kung ganun kalakas yung the big one. Of course, part of the protection and mitigation strategy is to have a backup equipment. So backup equipment, let's say you may need to have a backup generators or yung ating mga telephone lines, like maybe you should have your backup cell phones, etc. And of course, for the products and services, the company should improve its storage condition. So maybe you need to elevate the warehouse flooring for companies that are flood prone, or improve the roofing in case there's a strong typhoon, or retrofitting the building structure in case there's a strong earthquake. Another strategy that you could consider to ensure that your products and services could be quickly delivered to your source even after an incident is having a secondary supplier. Okay? Kasi if you have a secondary supplier, like let's say, if your primary supplier is also affected by the earthquake, okay, so paano siya makapag-supply sa'yo? So you may be needing another secondary supplier, okay, that may be quite far from the location of your primary supplier. Or consider alternate site or alternate site. No? So maybe having another satellite office, like in Quality Plus, we have satellite or business unit in Cavite, in Cebu. Kasi actually that's part of, part of the business continuity plan. Or an alternate means of delivering products and services. Okay, so like what happened now, no? Dahil there's this pandemic, and there should be a, let's say, transportation is limited. So let's say, how do you deliver your service? Like in the case of Quality Plus, we strengthen we expand our services to having webinar and virtual training. So if the disaster occurs, you should have an emergency response plan. Ito naman yung second set of your business continuity plan. No? When there's an emergency, or a disaster, so how are you prepared with regard to your response? So the plan should include personnel safety, okay, evacuation, asset protection, damage assessment, and of course, emergency notification. So here is an example of evacuation and response plan. So like let's say you have already defined that your primary evacuation site is in the parking area at the back of your building. Okay? Pero what if during that incident hindi pwede, no, hindi feasible that you proceed to that primary evacuation site. So you have your alternate evacuation site, like let's say an open field 500 meters northeast of the plant. Okay, so that's your alternate evacuation site. So of course you should also indicate in the evacuation and response rescue plan the people that are involved in the evacuation. Okay, and of course emergency hotlines, no? The nearest hospital, the hotline of PNP, Bureau of Fire Protection, and etc. Okay, so then the last set of strategies in as far as business continuity plan is concerned is the strategy after that. This is what we call the continuity and recovery strategies. So after the disaster is actually more challenging. No? So parang, you know, before the incident, you have your set of strategies, but during that incident, you have your response plan as a strategy. But you know, yung after the incident, even right now, no, na continue yung pandemic, many companies are really very struggling. No? So how should we prepare, no, ourselves after, or how do we quickly recover? No? So ito yung mga tatlong strategies. Unang-una is be able to resume your prioritized activities at the damaged or affected site. So take note that the prioritized activities are those activities that basically are directly involved in bringing your products and services to your customers, like production, sales. So what are you going to do with these prioritized activities? So you need to resume to where the damaged site or affected site happens. So let's say, meaning that you first do the repair of the damaged facility before you resume. But what if, let's say, it will take quite long to repair the damaged facility? So you consider the second strategy, and that is to resume your prioritized activities at an alternate site. Okay? So sa kabilang, let's say, bayan or sa kabilang lugar that is not affected by that disruptive incident. But if it's not feasible, then you have your third strategy, and that is to resume your prioritized activities by alternative methods. No? So like, again, as mentioned earlier, like in the case of Quality Plus, during this pandemic, since social distancing is encouraged, so we resume our training services instead of, you know, face-to-face or yung the classroom training program. We do it online, or yung tinatawag nating virtual training. So this is now the example of a summarized business continuity strategies: before, after, and of course during, and of course after. So we look at our strategies for the personnel, building equipment, of course our financial resources, and even essential utilities. No? So like in the case of water resources, so before the disruptive incident, maybe you consider installing water storage tank, or having a backup fuel store, or a backup cell phone load cards, so that during the incident you are prepared. No? So let's say during the incident, you may only limit your essential trips to save fuel. I mean, dapat hindi yung basta gamit ka lang gamit ng fuel, or refill the fuel after every trip. And then, of course, after the incident, you need to replenish water storage, no? Fuel storage, and of course, the load cards. Now, for the business partners, like suppliers and utility services providers, so before the incident, so some of your strategies may be to have a close coordination with them and arrange to use other facilities of the, let's say, buyers. No? And then during the incident, you may use other facilities. And then after the incident, maybe you use external facilities to increase your operational volume. So that's basically the business continuity strategies looking at the various types of the disaster. Okay, so now let's take a look at the creating the strategic business continuity plan for the new normal. Kasi ito yung ating current issue right now, di ba? So maybe your question is, how should I create a business continuity plan for the new normal, meaning for this pandemic? So the creation of the business continuity plan for the pandemic is quite distinct or quite unique. No? Why? Because, you know, in most disruptive incident, it happens only in a short period of time. Halimbawa, if there's an earthquake, so ang earthquake naman, seconds or minute lang yun, di ba? Or like, let's say, fire, maybe hours lang yun, no? Or let's say, typhoon, it may only be 1 day, 2 days. But in the case of pandemic, the disruption happened for a long period of time, like let's say months, no? Tayo, since March until July na ngayon, no? Or maybe even a year, no? Depending on the availability of the vaccine. So since the pandemic is still ongoing, so let's now focus our discussion on creating the business continuity plan for the response and the recovery. So dun sa two other phases, no? Phase 3 and the phase 4. So this is now the example of a response and recovery strategies for the pandemic. So take note, no? Ito yung mga objective natin, no? Number 1 is for the people, we need to protect their lives and of course their welfare. So what is one possible strategy? Of course, providing them with a face mask, alcohol, of course, to those staff that are reporting to work, no? Well, of course, to ensure physical distancing, we need to relay out our work area. And of course, di ba, maraming mga financial assistance ang ating government, LGU, the national government. So of course, the admin department of our company, no, should also be quick in facilitating application for those for the availment of those financial assistance program of the government. Okay, so for the recovery plan, in order for the products and services to be delivered quickly to the customers, no? So of course, ito yung ginagawa natin, no? So our strategy may be implementing work from home. You know, some companies were struggling implementing the work from home. Bakit? Kasi if there's no defined KPIs or, you know, targets for each individual staff, tapos bigla mong ipapa-work from home, you are in trouble. Buti na lang sa Quality Plus kahit papano, no? We have somehow established individual key performance indicators. Well, of course, complementing the work from home is the skeletal workforce schedule. So instead of every day all employees are reporting to work, so maybe every other day, no? Meaning that you divide your people into 2 teams. So team 1 will work on Monday, team 2 will work on Tuesday. I think that's also the strategy of UPISSI, no? Naka-skeletal sila. And of course, many of us, no? Many companies are doing that. Now, of course, itong third strategy may be on diversification of products. Ang daming mga ganong company that they diversify to essential products and services, no? Like you say, there's this cosmetic plant that before did not produce alcohol, but now they're producing alcohol. Or like, let's say, sewing company, now they're prioritizing the production of masks. There's this ano bang company ito na they acquire a new facility to produce yung material, fabric for the mask, no? Production. So again, that's what we call diversification. Next is the use of alternative approach to provide your products and services to the customers. Of course, like with the use of technology. So ito na yung ginagawa natin, no? So, you know, blessing in disguise because before the pandemic, Quality Plus was not engaged into virtual training, no? It's always part of our annual business plan, no? when we have our annual plan, we always say that we need to launch the virtual or the webinar. Pero and we had that plan 2 years ago pa, no? So hindi nang materialize, but after this because of this pandemic, napilitan kami mag-virtual. So sa akin, blessing in disguise na rin yun. So depending on the nature of your business, you can think of many ways that you could provide your products and services to your customers. Otherwise, your company will be in trouble. Your company will be at risk of closure, just like what happened to companies that declared closure amidst this pandemic. Yung sinabi ni Miss Jamie a while ago, na sa Laura, sino pa yun, no? Madaming mga companies that closed down because of the pandemic. Okay, so now my last point, no, before I end my presentation this afternoon, is on how to integrate sustainability to business continuity solution or in your business continuity plan. Because sometimes we are so selfish, no, when we prepare the business continuity plan, that we take for granted protecting the environment. So let me begin with defining sustainability. So according to the definition here, sustainability focuses on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Minsan, sabi ko kanina, we are quite selfish that we don't care. We exploit our environment. We don't really think of our future generation, our children, our grandchildren, our grand-grandchildren, in terms of the resources that they will be needing in the future. So this reminds me of the classic song of the band Asin, entitled "Masdan Mo Ang Kapaligiran." So naalala niyo pa yung kanta na yon? So ito yung, kung naalala niyo pa, ito yung lyrics, no? So let me sing the first line. Wala ka bang napapansin sa iyong kapaligiran, di ba? So sabi pa dito, no, kay dumi na ng hangin, pati na ang mga ilog natin. Hindi naman masama ang pag-unlad at malayo-layo na rin ang ating narating. Ngunit masdan mo ang tubig sa dagat. Dati kulay asul, ngayon naging itim. Parang Manila Bay yun, naging itim na. Ang mga duming ating ikinalat sa hangin, sa langit huwag nating paabutin. Kaso hindi nandoon pa rin sa atmosphere, no? Naninira ng ozone layer natin. Ang mga bata ngayon lang isinilang, may hangin pa kaya silang matitikman? Nako, that's parang nakakatakot yan. No? May mga puno pa kaya silang aakyatin? Sino dito nung maliit pa kayo, mahilig kayong umakyat sa puno ng bayabas? No? So ngayon may nakikita pa ba kayong bayabas? Parang wala na yata, aratilis na lang siguro. Hindi naman masama ang pag-unlad kung hindi naman ito nakakasira ng kalikasan. So, the message of that song is really about sustainability. So take note that sustainability is composed of 3 pillars. No? These are the economic, environmental, and social aspects, no, of sustainability. This is also known as the profits, planet, and people. So more often, poor business decisions magnify the impact of naturally occurring threats. So for example, you locate your factory in, minsan may mga ganun, no? Nandito ka na sa location na to, and then you do an expansion of your facility, and unfortunately, you locate it to a flood-prone place. And there are also companies that are practicing poor stewardship of the farmland. No? And take note that this would aggravate the effect of regularly occurring droughts. In the Philippines, we are exposed to 2 extreme weather conditions. No? Yung tinatawag nating El Nino and La Nina. Bakit lagi tayong may El Nino? No? So ito yung isa sa mga reasons. No? Because of irresponsible we are somehow irresponsible that we locate our factories dun sa hindi dapat lugar na paglalagyan. So as industrialization spreads due to globalization, and as global supply chains affect more industries, linkages between sustainability and business continuity become urgent and necessary. Kailangan talaga na part of our business continuity planning is to integrate sustainability. Take note that business continuity and sustainability have much in common. Both seek to ensure that the current and the future operations continue to function. So now, increase in the number of natural and human-induced disasters have convinced business leaders all over the world, no, that following responsible environmental practices and implementing business continuity plans is a good business practice. Now, to integrate sustainability and business continuity, take note that sustainability prevents disaster-related events from occurring. Or when they occur, at least it ameliorates the impact. So sustainable practices somehow affect the probability of events more than that of threats, and therefore can reduce the chance of occurrence of natural threats. For example na lang, no? Increased carbon dioxide concentrations. You know, when you use your aircon, okay, you use electricity, you are actually emitting carbon. No? Yung tinatawag natin mga carbon footprints. Okay? So at home, in our offices, in our plants, we are emitting carbon every day. So take note that increased carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere will warm the earth, no, and will cause more severe hurricanes. Human activity raises the carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere, and if this contributes warm the oceans, and if warmer the ocean waters affect the severity of the hurricanes. Kaya pala ngayon, ano, ang lalakas na ng mga hurricanes and typhoons because of, you know, too much emission of carbon and carbon dioxide and other form of carbons. So if we limit carbon dioxide emission to the atmosphere, it will ameliorate the chance of severe storms. Not only that, no, flooding. Although flooding primarily is due to natural causes, human intervention can also increase the severity and even frequency by changing the surface of the earth via removing vegetation, replacing earth with concrete, no, kasi ang dami ng mga subdivision na pinatayo, no? And of course, draining wetlands for farming and housing. Okay, also, you need to incorporate sustainability in response and recovery procedures that minimize long-term damage. Sustainable solutions affect disaster recovery in two ways. No? So first is recovery is faster when environmentally unfriendly events are avoided. Okay, so for example, no? Recovery is faster when no toxins are released. And then secondly, environmentally problematic disasters create levels of scrutiny, publicity, losses, and new events that significantly increase losses. Cost. And ano nangyari sa company? No? Nagkaroon ng negative publicity, so nasira pa sila. So how do you integrate sustainability to business continuity? So first, of course, is through your product design and finally, your operational processes. So under location and infrastructure, you have to be smart, no, in looking for the appropriate location of your plant or your facility. No? So take note that a smart location is one example where environmentally conscious strategies are also good strategies for business continuity. You need to employ sustainable business practices such as avoiding losses by locating your facilities far from environmentally at-risk areas like shorelines. No? Marami pa ring mga company na malapit sa shoreline. No? So that is not correct. No? Or fault lines. May mga planta na nakalocate sa fault line or near the fault lines. You know, location decisions can avoid secondary damage. So for example, building plants in ways that further degrade the environment, such as destroying wetlands, increase the likelihood of future disaster events, or the likelihood that events that do occur are more severe. Now, under product design, a sustainable product design includes selecting environmentally conscious product designs and materials that are sustainable in all stages, no, from sourcing to manufacture to disassembly and disposal. So the question now is, let's say, during your product development, so how do you select material? Baka naman yung material na ginagamit ninyo, wala kayong pakialam na it is very hazardous to the environment. Okay? So, product design is really very important to when you integrate sustainability to your business continuity plan. Particularly dun sa first two phases, no, of your business continuity planning, yung mitigation and the protection strategy. And finally, under operational process, it fosters sustainable approaches to business continuity planning in two ways. Ano yun? First, as with product design, the process itself can ensure that the use of hazardous materials is minimized and the methods of disposal are well contained. And then second, strategies that are increasingly used for other reasons like operational flexibility and minimizing cost may also be both sustainable and used in business continuity plans. So through these three strategies, namely the location and infrastructure, product design, and operational processes, the company can achieve a sustainable business continuity plan. In closing, let me end with this quote by Dennis Waitley. So kung sino man si Dennis Waitley, sabi niya, expect the best, plan for the worst, and prepare to be surprised. So with that, thank you very much and have a good morning, have a good afternoon, or have a good evening. Back to Jamie.
Thank you very much, Sir Henry Palaca. That was awesome. We have heard so many things about business continuity program, and there are lots of questions coming in. So, are you prepared for the question, sir?
Of course.
Ayan,
I'm
we are
excited to hear their questions.
wow, born ready. But sir, before that, we will also give a chance for other participants to key in or type in their questions. So before po tayo mag-head on to our Q&A portion, let us all see this video clip first. Take it away, Jay.
Wala ka bang napapansin sa iyong mga kapaligiran? Kay dumi na ng hangin, pati na ang mga ilog natin. Hindi na masamang pag-unlad at malayo-layo na rin ang ating darating. Ngunit masdan mo ang tubig sa dagat, dati kulay asul, ngayon naging itim.
Right. Thank you, Jay. Okay. Let us be reminded of that song, for sinabi ni Sir Shinier about sustainability. That has three pillars: our environment, the people, and the profit. Ayan. So, sir, ready ka na ba sa questions?
Of course. Kanina pa.
Ayan. So, para sa wag po makakalimot yung iba habang meron po tayong inaas na question kay Sir Henry. You can also type in your questions. Ano po? So, first question from Sir Alan Diaz. How do you relate continuity planning to government agencies where mission essential services and not goods with related revenues are affected by disruptions? And may follow-up question po yun, sir. Does National Disaster Risk Reduction Agency encourage government agencies develop and execute a coherent service continuity plan?
Okay? Yun ba yun, James?
Okay, sige, ulitin ko,
Sige.
sir.
Ulit mo nga.
So, this question is from Sir Alan Diaz.
Yes.
He asks, how do you relate continuity planning to government agencies?
Okay.
So, di ba po, different different po kasi yung setup ng government agencies natin eh.
Um,
The usual organization, they are focused more on goods. Yes, yung
tangible
revenues.
goods, yes.
Yes, okay. And
Mhm.
that is highly affected by disruption. Whereas our government, yung kanilang services or mission essential services ang affected by disruption. So, Sir Alan was asking, how do we relate business continuity planning with that kind of industry service?
Yeah, okay. Actually, the one that I gave you as an example kanina. Kasi like Quality Plus, although we are not a government agency, but we are basically providing intangible services. Training, consultancy, auditing. But so in services, as mentioned, you have, the best way for me, to deliver the service, pag training yon or intangible services, maybe virtual, ngayon kasi like let's say LTO, you could have your renewal of your permit, licenses sa mga kotse ninyo through online na, no? Sa National Library kasi ka-register lang natin ang ating libro, yung bago nating libro on ISO, pinapa-copyright natin. So online na lang yung registration, no? Ng copyright. So I think yung virtual, no, or online services may be more appropriate as part of the recovery measures or part of the recovery strategy. How do you call the recovery ba? The strategy after or while the pandemic is ongoing, no? Or like let's say if it is really if there's really a need for let's say the public to go to that agency, their building, facility, so yung sinasabi natin kailangan may social distancing, how do they relay out, no, yung kanilang facility dun sa pila? Actually ginagawa naman yun, no? Or like let's say yung sinabi natin kaninang some government agencies may be adopting the skeletal work schedule na hindi naman everyday lahat ng empleyado pumapasok doon. So I think yung ginagawa ngayon ng ating government are now part of their business continuity planning, especially on the phase 3 and the phase 4 of the business continuity plan. I hope nasagot ko yung tanong ni Sir Alan.
Actually, another, sir, government agency talaga na nakita natin, ang laki ng mga pagbabago nilang ginawa is DepEd. Talagang inalapit nila ang serbisyo sa mga mamamayan. Mayroong drive-thru graduation, mayroong ang teacher mismo ang pumupunta sa bahay ng estudyante just to enroll them o enlist them. No po? I think our government has our different government agencies has done their part in continuing their mission and their services. Yes, sir. And another,
so that's
sir.
part of the business continuity plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
May follow-up question, sir. Do we know about something about this? Meron po ba diyang representative from NDRRMC? Does National Disaster Risk Reduction Agency encourage government agencies to develop and execute a coherent service continuity plan? Meron ba?
Wala akong idea eh. Baka may pwedeng sumagot doon.
Okay.
From
sige,
the participants.
mga friends natin from the government. All right.
Okay.
Another question from Sir Alan Diaz. This pandemic affects right across the critical resource, which is yung people. People
Yes.
who are to execute the continuity plan. Now, the question, sir, is, and according to Sir Alan po, some concepts in BCP like recovery time, objective, or maximum tolerable period of disruption may not be achieved without first flattening or squashing first the infection curve. So his question is, do you think we need to define or craft another more appropriate parameters to be used in the light of harsh realities of pandemic?
Okay. So, yung sinabi ni Sir Alan na RTO, although I have not mentioned that a while ago, yung RTO or the recovery time objective, and the other time is the maximum tolerable, what do you call this? Ano yun ulit, James? Maximum tolerable MTPD,
Period
period of disruption.
of
Okay.
disruption.
So
Okay.
these are very two important time parameters in your BCP. No? So in other words, before you craft your recovery plan, kailangan define mo muna yung RTO, yung recovery time objective, and yung maximum tolerable period of disruption. No? Kasi doon ka magbe-base ng iyong mga action plans. So kung sinabi mo ang aking recovery time objective is 1 day or 2 days, so anong gagawin mo para ma-achieve mo yung recovery time na yun, objective na 1 day or 2 days, no? Or yung sinabi nating maximum tolerable period of disruption, this is actually the period in which beyond like that, if you are into trading business, so, hindi mo pwedeng i-work from home yung tao, walang mag-deliver ng produkto, di ba? So, ngayon, ang iyong strategy is maybe skeletal, no? Work schedule. Okay? So, paano ba ulit yun? So, no choice. Sa akin kasi, para ma-minimize lang yung impact sa'yo, kasi sabi nga ni Sir Alan kanina, your primary objective of BCP is to protect your people, which is the #1 resource of the company. So, paano mo poprotektahan? Wala kang choice, diba? You need your people to report physically to work kasi sila yung magde-deliver ng goods sa inyong client. Now, paano mo sila poprotektahan? So, anong strategy mo on that? No? So, yung sinabi ko nga, maybe provide them with alcohol, provide them with the mask, yung iba, provide with vitamin supplements, okay? And yung iba nga, parang syempre, walang overtime kasi hindi pwedeng mapagod. So, that's your strategy to protect your people. Ano pang parameter ang pwede nating tingnan doon? So, I think, yun. Huh?
They have to travel back to
ano?
their homes.
Okay,
Sometimes there are
so
organized.
Like in quality, yeah, like in Quality Plus, no? So lahat ng mapupunta sa office because they really need to come to the office, kailangan they should be provided with the company car, no? Going back and forth to their homes. No? So I think yun yung mga ginagawa naman na actually ito, no? So yung tanong ni Sir Alan, kung meron pa bang dapat baguhin? Sa ngayon, parang wala na akong ibang naisip pa, no? Na parang na-exhaust na lahat ng ideas ng the government and even the industries as to how, to protect the people from this pandemic. Parang wala na akong ibang naisip pa doon.
Kasi parang majority of the time, sir, we're firefighting na lang talaga. Kasi
Oo. Kasi we're caught unaware eh.
And
diba?
Off-guarded tayo, sir, and we lack really.
Guarded.
This is a systemic problem. Kasi it started with our government talaga. We do not have a clear plan for this. That is why.
Both the private, no, and the government.
Correct, sir. All right. So next, sir, meron pa po. Okay pa tayo, sir,
Of course.
diba?
Pinawisan na ako.
Okay, sir. According to Sir Alan then, he asks, natural calamities occur within the span of days, weeks, and maybe a month. But the effect of pandemic occurrence take years, which are longer lasting, and the effects are ever reaching. So how do we factor this difference in doing continuity planning for pandemic, sir?
Okay, so yung part 2 ng aking presentation kanina, no? So I gave you an example of yung business continuity plan for the new normal. Kasi sabi nga ni Sir Alan, the effect is not only in within a month, it may be a year or even longer than 1 year. No? Hindi natin alam. Sabi ko nga, kung hanggat wala pang vaccine, nandyan pa rin yung fear natin for COVID, no? So, ano bang pwedeng gawin? So sa amin, like ako, very practical ako, no? Like in Quality Plus, ang ginagawa natin ngayon, Jamie, no, is bukod sa virtual training, we are also publishing books, so e-books, no? So I think diversify, no? You have to be very creative as to anong pwede mo pang gawin related to your products or your services na mas long term, no? So like let's say pag natapos na natin itong iba't ibang libro natin, e-books or even the hard copies of the books, kahit na tutulog-tulog tayo everyday, nandiyan na papasok yung pera. No? Kasi nasa eBay na naka ano yun, no? Distribute yung ating mga products or sa Amazon or kung saan man yun. So I think diversification is a key, no? Diversify your products as to something na hindi siya talagang affected by the pandemic. Like sinabi ko nga, yung mga virtual services, e-services, e-books, or diversify to products that are essential for this pandemic. No? Yung sinabi ko kaninang yung cosmetic plant na pupudos na ngayon ng alcohol. Okay? Actually, nakakaubusan ng alcohol. Okay? So, or kung ano man yan. Di ba marami ngayon, even at home, so marami tayong mga kaibigan na nag-aalok sa atin ng mga food. No? So parang gano'n, ano? So malakas din ngayon yung mga Food Panda and all of those, yung mga services. Kasi gano'n na lang. No? Hindi na tayo kailang pumunta pa sa palengke to buy our food.
Oh,
So diversify.
correct. Sabi nga po, there is this old adage that says, problem is an opportunity in disguise. Tama po ba?
Yes.
Correct. At saka, paano ba natin i-match yung core competencies ng organization sa immediate need ng pandemic na to? Yun talaga eh. Tama po ba? So, magmamatch yun. May makikita at may makikita tayo. We just have to really navigate all possibilities and i-crunch na yung mga utak natin para lumabas yung creative juices natin dahil meron at meron tayong solution sa problem na to. Tama po. We will not give in this problem if we cannot bear it. Tama po ba, sir? Ayan. So, are there more questions coming? Are there more? So, sir, ito last question na lang. I am so intrigued kasi, mahal po ba ang mag-BCP? How much the company, how much time, effort, and money will the company use to create and implement a BCP, sir?
Okay. Kung mahal, if you are asking on the cost, maybe the answer is yes. Okay. Sometimes it may be no. Okay. Yes, in the sense that paano kung talagang totally wala kang mga control measures on that particular disruptive incidents. Like let's say you are located in a place where it is flood prone pero wala kang wala kang tugboats, okay? Wala kang mga equipments, lifesaver, di ba? So kailan mo i-acquire lahat 'yon, no? As part of your preparedness, no? Preparation. So mahal, pero ang lagi nating titingnan is magkano ba ang magiging loss kung mangyari itong disaster na yun sa company? Di ba mas malaki? So you have to weigh, no, the cost of acquiring this equipment, these facilities as part of your business continuity plan versus the loss of the company, the financial loss of the company in the event na mangyari yun. Kaya importante dito yung risk analysis eh. Kasi if you are not really facing high risk doon sa isang disaster or disruptive incident, bakit ka mag-spend ng ganito ka, mag-acquire ng mga ganong control measures? So yun. I think rather than looking at the cost, let's look at the return on investment. Or I don't know kung ROI ang tawag natin doon. Pero magkano bang maging loss pag nangyari sa inyo na you are not prepared?
Correct. Alright, sir. Madami na naman po kaming natutunan, Sir Henry, ngayong araw na to. I'm sorry to say, but we ran out of time. And some questions are still coming. And don't worry po, we will be sending you the answers to your questions. And to those who will be wanting to have a copy of our recorded webinar, our account managers will be dealing with you po. So, you just have to give us your contact details. Okay po ba? And we can also handle consultation, personal consultation with your organization regarding business continuity planning. Okay? So, wag po kayong mawawala. Next 2 weeks after this, we have another QFI Talk, Power Talk. So, Sir Henry, I think the best time to end our QFI Talk Power talk is with a Cupid Toast. Come on. Thank you, sir. Yes. Good job po. Thank you, everyone. And if you are interested po in this topic, please do not hesitate to reach us through our contact details that will be shown to you in a while po. Also, please visit our website at www.qplusconsulting.com and visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Like us and be notified for the streaming of our upcoming topics and events. So again, I'm Jamie, na nagsasabing ang Pilipino dapat matalino po. And to wrap up all the things that we have talked about today, so this is another video clip that we want to share with you to post a challenge to your organization. Take it away, Abby.
Wait! Thanks. Running late? Yeah, traffic was rough this morning. Crisis averted. No crisis, just a little traffic. But what if there had been a lot of traffic? Everyone needs a backup plan. Just like every company needs a business continuity plan. What just happened? Could be a blackout. Completely unpredictable. Where did you get that? It's important to start your business continuity planning early. How long can you operate without core systems and processes? What if your entire network went down? No communications means no sales and lost customers. Why isn't this thing working? Finally. Recovery's good. But 75% of companies without continuity plans fail within 3 years. Who's in charge during a disaster? Like a fire? Identifying teams and assigning tasks is essential. Everyone needs to know their responsibilities. What's going on? It could be a hurricane. Hurricane? Weather can badly damage your assets. Planning better prepares your company to recover from any disruption. Why aren't you getting wet? Not everyone's under the same umbrella. It's important to test, update, and exercise your preparedness measures. So, can we share? No. A business continuity plan for one company won't fit another. That's why it's important for everyone to develop their own plans. Why are you wearing a mask? Don't forget to plan for the human element. Contingency planning should go beyond natural disasters. Plan for man-made threats too. Oh, come on. Great. Hey, let me out. Will your continuity plan be in place when it matters most?